Genesis chapter 15, verses 13 and 14. God reaffirms his promise to Abraham that through him all nations on earth will be blessed. He says to Abraham, I'm going to make a great nation of you. Your descendants are going to be as numerous as the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. But then he pulls back the curtain and he lets Abraham know what's going to happen a little ways down the road. He says, Abraham, or it says, then the Lord said to him, know for certain that for 400 years, which is exactly how long it lasted, your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and that they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish the nation that they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. So it says, Abraham, it's going to happen. I'm just letting you know that this is coming. And so Abraham has Isaac. Isaac has Jacob. And Jacob's son Joseph ends up down in Egypt. Remember this part of the story? And then there's a great famine in the land, and Jacob and all of his household have to move down to Egypt to find food. We've got to skip over. There's so much good story here. But he ends up in Egypt, and the family's reunited, and the Pharaoh just loves Jacob and Joseph's family. And he says, hey, there's this great pasture land. You guys are shepherds. Take Goshen. That'll be yours. It's all kind of green grass. You guys can live there. It's wonderful. But then, when you close Genesis and you open Exodus, it says, but then a new Pharaoh came into power. And he didn't know Joseph. And he didn't know anything about that old relationship. All he knows is that these Hebrews know how to have babies. And they're everywhere. They're just multiplying like crazy. And all of a sudden he starts looking around saying, man, they're so numerous. If they ever joined with our enemies, we're history. So he enslaves them and he makes them slaves. And just like God said, for 400 years they were enslaved in Egypt. And here comes God again, coming after his people. Exodus chapter 3, verses 7 and 8. Enter Moses. Maybe you've heard of Moses. Again, there's so much story here. But Moses has been raised up by God. He's at this point in his life, he's a shepherd. He's out in the wilderness caring for his sheep. And he looks up on the mountain and there's this bush and it's on fire. But it's not burning up. It's like, what's up? It's on fire, but it's just sitting there. So Moses goes to investigate, and this is where, as he approaches the bush, God says, Moses. That's the best God I got, okay? Moses, take off your sandals because the ground you're standing on is holy ground. But again, get this, Moses didn't wake up and say, I'm going to go seek out God. God came to him. And he says, the ground you're standing on is holy ground. And then he says here, starting in verse 7, and then the Lord told him, I have certainly seen the oppression of my people in Egypt, and I have heard their cries of distress because of the harsh slave drivers. Yes, I am aware of their suffering. And so, get this phrase, I have come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptians. This is God's heart coming to us. I have come down to rescue them from the Egyptians and to lead them out of Egypt, out of bondage, out of slavery. Get that picture. And into their own fertile, spacious land. It is a land that is flowing with milk and honey. The promised land. The promised land was the Old Testament image of heaven. I'm bringing you out of brokenness and bondage and enslavement. I come to set the captives free, bring you out, crush the power of your enemies, and bring you into a new relationship with me in this place that will be wonderful. Sound familiar? So it's God coming to his people to deliver them again.